Today, we have a young man who gets a message from a girl he had a crush on in school. They start dating and everything's fine, at least until her ex makes an entrance. In our second story, we have a woman who was convinced to open her marriage at the request of her husband. However, when he starts spending all his free time with this individual, his wife thinks there's more to it than just sex. If you're curious about how these stories end, get yourself a coffee and grab a bowl of popcorn so we can get into it.
Me and my girlfriend have known each other for about 7 years. I'm 23 and she's 24. We first started talking in high school, but kind of fell out after we graduated. Back in 2020, she messaged me asking if I wanted to go to a wedding with her. I agreed, so we bought tickets and started talking again. It was as if no time had passed at all. I've had a crush on her for years, but she was always dating somebody, so after high school, I just gave up. I can't remember how we started talking about relationships, but we both admitted that we had feelings for each other. Everything was going well until her ex messaged her. After they had broken up, they didn't speak for 3 years. She told me about his message, and I told her to ignore him, but she brought his whole, "I just want to talk" thing. I stupidly agreed to let them message each other, not thinking much of it because I trusted her. I thought that if things got out of hand, she'd shut it down. Eventually, it went from her telling me what they're talking about to her having a lock on her phone and snatching it away when I needed to look up something. Until then, we'd always been open with each other because we had nothing to hide. Fast forward to May of 2021, and she's visiting me. We planned to go to the mall, and we end up bumping into her ex. I had a feeling that he worked there because that's where he was when they were dating. Anyway, he comes up to her, and she ditches me to go and hang out with him. After about 45 minutes of me wandering around, she called and asked me where I went. I told her I wasn't happy with her ditching me when we were supposed to hang out. I told her that she could have said no to him because you're hanging out with your boyfriend, but she completely ignored me and said that she doesn't do well with confrontation. The next day was when they were going to have their talk, so she dropped me off at my house and then went to pick him up. She said she would update me on where they're at, and it should only be a few hours max. I said, okay, see you when you get here. Not once did I get an update from her. The only time I got a text from her was 14 hours later when she said she was coming to get me. When she came to get me, she was wearing something completely different than what she had on when she dropped me off. That was red flag number 1, but me being me brushed it off. Red flag number 2 came when we got back to the hotel and she undressed, revealing some hickeys she had. For whatever reason, she doesn't like me giving her hickeys. I brushed that off too, thinking that maybe I gave them to her the night before. It turns out, though, it was her ex that did it. The next morning, she confessed that she made out with him, which explained the hickeys. I knew she slept with him, but she never admitted to it. I asked her why she did what she did, and she told me, and I quote, "Because I wanted to be bad for once." We fought, and I told her in a cold tone to take me home. She took me home and left to go spend time with her ex. We split up for the next 6 months because she wanted to figure out who she wanted to be with. In the end, she chose me, but I haven't been happy. I stupidly took her back, and I don't know why I did. I haven't been happy, and I've moved in with her and her mom. I've been trying to go back to my hometown so I can work there again and slowly distance myself from her, but every time I bring it up, she says, "How long are you going to be there? 8 years?" I'm so sick of it, and when we get into a fight, if I raise my voice, she says, "You have no reason to be mad." But at the same time, she can yell and scream all she wants. I'm not happy and don't sleep at night. I need help on what to do.
To be honest, this relationship was doomed from the start. The very foundation of OP's relationship, which is trust, crumbled before it was even built. There's no reason at all for OP's partner to be talking with her ex, unless they have children. The only thing that will happen when you keep ex-partners in your life is drama. Hopefully OP can learn his lessons and not ignore any red flags that may come about in future. As always, when it comes to relationships, you should keep an eye out for co-workers, ex-partners, and that suspicious close friend. OP is still young, so there's no need for him to make himself suffer like this. He has more than enough time to find somebody more suitable, which is what I'd recommend. Let's see what our favorite people are saying down in the comments.
Dive Deep says, "What were you thinking getting back with this trash? And you rug swept the hickeys. First, you need to get your self-respect back. This woman will cheat, and never feel remorse. You have a choice to leave, but you're still in love and feel like you can't. This woman has no morals." Mina says, Man, I'm going to be honest with you. It might sound harsh, but you're a pushover and a doormat with no self-esteem. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. You're years long in the friend zone, you lost contact, and suddenly, after some years, you're all in to go to a wedding with her, and then you start talking again. You made a commitment before getting to know her in general. You do it the reverse. You contact someone and say something like, "Hey, how you doing? Let's do something together." Then you get to know each other. After that, you can drop the, "Hey, let's go to a wedding." What she did is easily explained. No sucker wanted her. No one wanted to commit to her. Her ex dropped her, so she looked for a low self-esteem guy to feel safe and secure. When her ex comes back into her life, she's immediately hot for him, treats you like crap, and cheats on you. You're acting extremely meekly. She's got the upper hand, and now you feel like you have to suck everything up. My advice is to run, get some self-esteem, build yourself up, or choose to live in misery.
That last comment was harsh, but completely true. OP needs to grow a backbone so he can find someone who's worthy of his time and effort.
My husband and I have been together for 18 years, and we've been married for 8. I'm 37 and he's 38. Throughout our relationship, Gerald, my husband, has had crushes on other people. I have too, but never anything serious. Recently, he's been toying with the idea that he's poly. I'm not, but I realize that we've been together since we were kids, and we've both grown and changed. I want him to be happy, so it's something I'm willing to let him explore, within reason. I don't love it, but I love him enough to try. The problem isn't that he might be poly, it's the reason the idea came up in the first place. He has a coworker who he's become close with. She's in her 30s, and her name is Rachel. Over time, he started to spend more time with her, and I could sense that he liked her. I'm not usually a jealous person, so I waited until he came to me a few months ago to discuss it. That's when the idea of poly first appeared. It turns out the feelings are mutual, but Gerald swears that nothing has ever happened. Rachel's single, but she's been in an open relationship in the past. I asked them to let me know if something was about to happen so we could talk about it. He agreed and said that he loved me and our relationship wouldn't change. My husband and Rachel started hanging out more and more, even when I told him that I wanted to spend time with him and that I wanted them to take it slower. I felt like I barely saw him because they were spending so much time together. Still, my husband swore that nothing was happening and that they were just friends for now. They kept going back and forth between being friends and discussing the option of dating. I never quite knew where they were at on the spectrum, and it was driving me crazy. I wanted to sit down, all three of us, but Rachel kept making excuses. I felt like I was the only one trying to establish some kind of communication and boundaries, and it was making me more and more anxious until I finally confronted him about it. It turns out something did happen. They kissed, and this was before he'd even spoken to me about being poly. They'd also been physically affectionate, holding hands, hugging, and kissing each other on the cheek. My husband's pretty tactile in general, but he knew how uncomfortable this would make me, so he deliberately kept it from me. They were basically dating the whole time. They just hadn't actually had sex yet. I feel so betrayed, angry, and heartbroken. I thought I knew him. I trusted him. I was putting myself through all this to make him happy, but he ignored my feelings and did whatever he wanted. He said that he has so few friends since we moved across the country that Rachel has become too important to him to give up on, so I can't ask him to stop spending time with her. But what about my feelings? Why am I the only one making sacrifices? How could he lie to me like that? Why doesn't he care about my feelings? What should I do now? Can we come back from this? Any advice is more than welcome. I'm feeling so lost. We're currently sleeping in separate rooms, and I'm seriously considering divorce.
If we were making bets, I'd be willing to put my money on the fact that they have slept together. When adults interact like this for a prolonged amount of time, they're bound to hook up sooner or later. Before OP's husband came to her about being poly, he'd already made the decision about being sexual with Rachel. He just wanted his wife's permission so he wouldn't feel so bad. If you're in a relationship and your partner comes to you about opening things up, please assume that they've already stepped out, or at the very least have someone else in mind. It seems like OP's husband is replacing her with Rachel, so whatever he's got going on is more than just sex. Let's hop down into the comments to see what's going on.
Ella Witt says, "I'd stop considering and actually do it. You shouldn't have to fight for your partner's time and loyalty. He's already chosen her over you, so let them have each other. Take heart that relationships that start from infidelity rarely last, and start prioritizing yourself and your well-being by leaving this cheater. Also, they probably did more than kiss, and he's trickle-truthing, which is even more reason to cut him loose. Mystery Moon says, you had X number of good years with him, that's great, and there are good times to look back on. He's made his choice, he's responsible for his actions, and they're not compatible with your idea of what a happy relationship is like. It's time for you to make arrangements, and when he cries, begs, and repents, respect yourself and don't give in. No doubt you feel like crap, but this will develop into a new and exciting phase of your life.
I'm truly wishing OP the best, and anyone else who might be experiencing something like this in their relationship. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Coffee and Popcorn, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.